Hello YouTube, and I am back. So today I want to talk about the recent cancellation of the Gossip Girl reboot, and give you reasons why I think this has happened. So to me, I think the obvious reason overall is the recent merger that is happening with HBO-Max and Discovery Plus. If you don't know, or if you're living under a rock, Discovery Plus is going to merge with Warner Brothers this year to make new content, and there's been, over the past few months, they've been canceling on the animated shows, HBO-Max specific shows, and it's been a bloodbath. You can read all the articles and people. It's just been horrible to a lot of creatives over there. And I had a feeling that this was going to get canceled, considering they have canceled a lot of young adult teen programming on there. And I kind of wondered that Gossip Girl was going to be next. So there was no surprise there. But I want to go a little bit deeper than just the corporate stuff and really go in deeply, being like, oh, well, it was a hit show. They could have saved it. What else happened? Well, also I think it was because they did not promote this season. If anyone remembers the promotion for season 1, it was out the wazoo. They had posters everywhere. They had a great marketing campaign, photo shoots, and everything like that. And with this season, that decreased by a long mile. I didn't even know it came back until it did when I saw it on my HBO Max app. And I'm like, if I don't know it's back, then does anyone else know it's back? It didn't trend anywhere, especially on Tumblr, where you would see new shows trend, especially something like Gossip Girl. But yeah, it was just not promoted well at all. And another big thing that I think is really important, and it relates to my previous video that I did about scam, and why I think Gen Z is like, Gen Z and kind of, millennial in my generation are kind of tired and want to push ourselves away from this type of programming because it's been oversaturated, because now there's a very overwhelming amount of TV right now. We got all these streaming services, and we're paying for all this programming, and TV right now is just at an all-time high, and there's too much to watch. I know I've struggled with this, recently, and it's just been too much to watch. And people are more selective about what they want to watch, what they want to pay for. And if something's not good, they're not going to invest their time nor money into it. And right now, I'm seeing a lot of these younger people gearing towards something like a sex education scam, Heartbreak High, some of these other shows like Heartstopper that are more relatable, talking about serious issues, taking them seriously. Yes, we can have, the junk food TV, which is great and everything, but when that's all there is, where's the important stuff? Where's the stuff that really matters to this generation? And I feel like we've reached that apex with something like a Riverdale, where that was kind of like the last really big network show that really went as far, probably even further than Gossip Girl did. Before that was like Vampire Diaries. But anyway, I feel like with this reboot of Gossip Girl, it was already a step behind, considering before it came out, we had something like Elite, on Netflix, kind of a Gossip Girl / How to Get Away with Murder inspired show set in Spain. And it was really going overboard with, all the raciness and sexiness and all that other stuff. And, Euphoria that show is a lot. If you know anything about Euphoria, you will agree with me, that show is a whole lot. So I feel like we've already seen the worst you can see of like, teens going crazy, or young people going, whatever, and being salacious and doing whatever, because the original Gossip Girl came out in like the 2000s. Like, think about it, the 2000s, George Bush was president, very conservative. I mean, is it more different now? But anyway, in that time frame, and it was considered racy. Like, that was like one of the racier shows when I was younger. And I remember seeing a big billboard in Times Square, about it saying OMFG, and they would take like all the bad criticism and put them in their posters and sell it as the show. But since then, there's been this trend of over sexualization of teens and shows, and them just doing all this unrelatable stuff. I mean, in there were some relatable things, but not all the way. And it just got an oversaturated market, and it was just not working anymore. And like I said in my scam video, I think this generation and somewhat of my generation is looking for something that's going to treat them seriously and take them seriously and take their opinions and their worries and their struggles and their shame seriously and really dig deep into these serious issues because, social media exists. They're so aware of everything that's going on, not only in their own country, but the whole entire world. They're way more political than ever. And so I think that's why they gravitate to more of these mundane, everyday shows that are still, updating and still relatable to these kids and do go through really hard things, but it's not salacious. Like with Euphoria, it does talk about important stuff, especially when it comes to drug addiction, but it's still salacious. It's still very uncomfortable, and I just don't. Yeah, and a lot of people who that show is supposed to be made for feel that way. So yeah, and I think this show was way behind on this time, and it was weirdly kind of sanitized for it being on hbo-max. But yeah. And also when it comes to the show itself, it was just not good. Anybody can tell you within the show that the whole thing with the teachers, the adults, and all that stuff was just not good. And certain characterizations, storylines were not good. You can go to other videos and when they talk about the show in depth. I'm just saying for like an overall genre perspective of why the show did not work and did not hold on to an audience. So yeah, I think that's why ultimately the show did not work out. And I believe even if the whole merger thing didn't exist, I think it would have still gotten canceled around this time, or at least maybe season 3 would have been its last. It wouldn't have had a long, life on TV. So what are your thoughts? Leave them down below, and bye YouTube.